gonna swim, bike, and run day. Cause it's breakfast with Bob.
And Poncho Man, everybody. Well, welcome to day 3, Breakfast with Bob from Kona, Huggo's on the Rocks. My name is Bob Babb, brought to you by Master Spas as Fuels, right fuel, right time. HOKA, Fly Human Fly, Deboer, Wetsuits, Quintana, Root, and of course our Challenged Athletes Foundation. Our next guest, 3-time Challenge Roth champion, course record holder at Challenge Roth. Give it up for Magnus Ditlev. How you doing, buddy?
Thanks for having me. I'm really, really good. It's good to be back in Kona after a 2-year break. And when you're sitting here on the beach, it's really nice.
And your life has changed a little bit in the 2 years we haven't been here. You've become seriously number 1 in the world and winning Challenge Roth 3 years in a row, breaking your course record. Are you feeling like the difference between you 2 years ago and now is pretty significant?
No, I wouldn't say so. Of course, a lot of external factors around me has changed, but I think I'm the same guy and I'm doing the sport because of the same reasons, and I'm trying to really stick to that and not change too much. Of course, it can be difficult when you have so many opportunities, but I don't think I have changed that much. Maybe only like the setup around me has changed, but that is just for the good.
So what did you take away from finishing here 2 years ago? You had a battle with Sebastian Kienle. That was pretty fun. That race got a drafting call, whatever it happened to be, blocking. What did you take away from that race that helps you this year?
I think even though I tell myself that a lot of the things that happened in the race was out of my control, I also for sure struggled on the run. It's hard to say how much that was mentally because I wasn't in a place where I thought I would be because of the penalty, but still, like on the run course especially, everyone is talking about energy lap, but I found going back on Queen K after you've done energy lap was definitely like the hardest stretch I've ever done of run in my entire life because Queen K just seems to go on forever when you're really focused. Okay, I have to do energy lap well now, and then you turn right after that, and then you have like 10K of just straight road, but it's really undulating, and you can see your competitors behind you and in front of you. So that was for sure a really mentally challenging part of the race, and I think I'm hoping to be able to be in a better spot when I hit that stretch of the road this time. That's for sure the plan, and then take it from there.
So this year you decided to go to Colorado to do a long training block before Roth and after Roth. And what did you gain from being up there at altitude that maybe that's different than what you've done in the past? First time to Colorado.
Yeah, so I've been in altitude before at 1,800 meters. Which really didn't give a significant change in the blood values that we measure.
Yes.
So we wanted to try out something completely new, and also it is a little bit extreme going to 2,700 meters. But the reason we did it like earlier in the year as well was really just to try it out before Kona, to kind of have done it before and see how I responded to it. So going into Roth, it was kind of a test of the protocol we wanted to do before Kona. So I feel like everything this year has been building up, or everything we have done this year has been towards peaking for this year. So we went there before Roth and gained a lot of valuable experience, and also learned some things that we have now implemented in the high altitude camp we did before Kona. So made a few mistakes in the first time that we didn't make now, and I think it was really valuable to have been there before, and definitely the high altitude really helps me a lot. So I feel really good at the moment.
When I've watched you race in the past, going back to I think 2020 in Daytona, it goes back a lot of years, you were never afraid of the moment. You were always good about going off the front, and whatever happens, happens. And a lot of times you had stomach issues, heat issues. This year, watching you race at Miami was a textbook race because you didn't get caught up in, I've got to be leading off the bike. I feel confident I can win this race on the run, and I need to deal with the heat. Yeah. And you did all of that. You dealt with the heat. You went for it after the bike ride, and you're passing Alistair Brownlee, 2-time Olympic gold medalist, and you didn't seem to be intimidated at all.
No, I mean, I think it was a good test for this race as well. Like
yes.
Some of the cooling strategies and the heat prep we did leading into that race, and I think in the heat you just have to be really careful. You can't really burn too many matches, or you have to ride pretty much within yourself. So even though it might been from the outside look really controlled and everything, in my head I was exploding of thoughts, like when they all went out 3-minute pace. I was like, what is going on here? I'm running so slowly, but then it stabilizes after a few kilometers and you kind of know which direction it will go then, because I knew I was within myself and I could see, okay, now we are running the same pace, and a few Ks later I was running faster than them, and then once you are overboard in the heat, it's impossible to come back.
Right. So being patient,
Yeah.
cooling yourself, you were very conscious of that every aid station.
Yeah.
Get ice, put it on your shoulders. And is that something you worked on in training?
Yeah, it's something we've worked on really much going into this race, like the heat prep and then cooling strategies. And I think the key here will be to be patient and not overdo it on the run. So that's probably the most important thing with Kona, is for sure the heat on the run course.
That makes sense. Now, have you spent a lot of time on the bike course here while you've been in town? And the thing about this course is every time you ride it, it's different, right?
Yeah.
You'll be out of Javi and it seems like, oh, there's not much wind. The next day it's blowing. How do you handle that when it's going to be different every day?
Yeah, even the same day it can be, within the same day it can change. So I was doing the entire bike course one day when I was here, and it felt like the wind was changing direction like multiple times throughout the ride, which was pretty weird. So I've done, I think this year has been a little bit more windy than 2 years ago in general, which is something that fires me up, and I definitely hope for a super windy day. I think if the winds blow and we have a strong crosswind a lot of the day, it will be a really, really tough race, and it will make it difficult for people to sit on 12 meters and make it a more honest race. So the winds I'm really hoping will blow.
So we want it to be below. You have raced Sam Laidlaw a lot of times now, and my thought is, hey, if you guys somehow end up close together like you were at Challenge Roth, riding together and going sub 4 hours for that bike ride, that would be a good thing, because it's hard to say for a guy who just ran 2:34 at Roth that you're worried about any runners behind you, but you don't want Gustav, Christian, and those guys to be anywhere near you guys on the bike. Do you work together potentially? Like it seemed like at Challenge Roth there was a little effort to work together.
Yeah, I think what we did in Challenge Roth was pretty special. It was like a train just hammering the entire. It was so smooth and efficient the entire way. I've never done a full distance together with anyone before that was like that. It was pretty beautiful to be in actually, because we went so fast that day, and even though it was raining this year, I wasn't able to go quite as fast solo. But I think for sure it would be, because also the thing with Sam is he thinks that he's running faster than me, I know, and I believe that I will run him down. So I think that we will both have a mutual interest in working together if we manage to get off the bike together. I think in this field compared to Roth 2 years ago, the depth is so much stronger. So to think that we will be the only two in the race would probably be, that's not going to happen. There will be multiple other people probably with us, also people from behind trying to bridge up. So you should be careful not just to think about him and I going off the front, and it will come down to my swim, I guess. If I'm 90 seconds behind after the swim, I will have to close that gap first and then see if I can get away. And the past 2 years Sam has already been up the road by the time I've closed to the front pack, so I think it really is going to depend if I manage to just sneak with the front pack this time, which I'm hoping, and which my swims this season has indicated that it might be a possibility. So that's really, it would be I think probably the dream scenario if we could get away in somehow, some way.
So last year at World Championships in Nice, you and Sam were close together, and then in the run...
We were not close together. We were 5 minutes apart.
5 minutes apart
I was never in the race.
Then in the run, you were running, and then there was a little battle there. There was Rudy there. There was a number of other guys, and then Patrick Lange's coming up. The thing about that course at Nice with multiple loops, the positive is you can see people ahead of you. You can see where Sam was, but you can see Patrick, who is having a phenomenal run.
Yeah, that was a tough day. I was really struggling mentally. Even though it may sound crazy that I was second in the World Championships the most of the day,
Yes.
I was still having such a hard time because I could see what Sam was doing, and leading into the race I was telling myself that I was going to be able to contend for the win, but he basically just took off
Right.
from the start of the race, and that I really struggled to deal with that because I believe I did some pretty good numbers myself, and then he just humiliated us all. So that was quite difficult. And then on the run course, there was a time where I was gaining a little bit on him, but then it stabilized at the same gap, and then Patrick came from behind, so it became more of a matter of seeing if I could secure second place, which I wasn't able to do. And then by the end, Rudy also got pretty close.
Yes. Yeah. So in that race, when Sam is up the road, and we talked before the race about, I know people think I'm too big for this race because it's 8,000 feet of climbing, but you were convinced that I think I can be I've got my power numbers tell me I should be able to ride with anybody here.
Yeah.
What did you learn from that race? Would you have done anything different leading in, or was it just one of those days where
No.
Sam was better?
Yeah, it was just one of those days where Sam was on a different level than any one of us all. If you remove him from the list, I think it would probably have been the most exciting World Championships in the history of the sport, but it wasn't.
Without that 5-minute lead. Yeah.
So I think we did a really good job, and I think, of course, given that I'm such a tall guy and probably the heaviest guy in the field, I was able to ride really well on the course, but I think it takes something out of you for the run.
Right.
I was talking to Bradley Weiss, which I did the main climb with.
Yes.
And I was pushing well above 400 watts for 50 minutes, and he was doing 320, I think. So if you look at it from calories perspective, that is just such a big difference.
Yes.
And it's
He's a little
difficult.
guy.
Yeah, he's a very little guy. So there comes a cost when you have such a big engine that you need to carry up and down the hills.
So the fact you've had all this success now, and there was a number of years ago where you were dealing with injuries and you didn't even know if you'd be able to stay as a professional triathlete, how much more satisfying is it for you to have this success? Because there was a point where your career could have been over.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I just spent 6 weeks at the most beautiful landscape in the world, training with my girlfriend and 2 of my best training mates, and those are the experiences and things that you shouldn't take for granted. It's also a big part of why I do triathlon. Is, of course, I've been super focused for this race,
Yes.
but it's also the process of getting towards peak shape is probably what I enjoy the most, and doing it with people I like and love is something I'm really happy and proud of, to be able to say that is what I do for a living. I think it's pretty cool.
It's very cool. And when you have a race like you had at Roth, and you break your own course record, which I think people thought nobody's breaking that ever. The thing with that race is your, what was it, 234 that you run there?
234,
Yeah, you run 234.18 off a 359 bike ride.
Yeah.
Did you surprise yourself?
No.
Your numbers were there. You knew.
Yeah, I knew I would be when I went down from altitude after the first time there, I knew I was in the shape of my life. And what surprised me the most was that I felt like I just could continue the entire day. Also on the run, it felt so easy almost the entire day, which was, I've never had that feeling of being able to push the entire 180k and the entire marathon. Usually I fade a little bit towards the end of the bike and a little bit towards the end of the marathon, but and I did the entire thing solo this time, which is also a very big difference to the year before. So,
Yes.
I guess in some way I got a little bit surprised, but I also think we knew that it was a possibility and that I had the shape. So, it was.
This is the most important triathlon in the world. This is the mecca of the sport. What would it mean to you to be coming down Elite Drive first? You've won Challenge Roth 3 times. That is an epic event. This is another level of epic event.
Yeah, I think it's hard. A lot of people have asked me what it would mean, and it's hard for me to put into words how much it would actually mean. I think it's just, I feel like this is was the first big race that I learned about in triathlon.
Yes.
And it's the race that I have always seen as the highest level, and everyone does that, of course, but it's, for me personally, it's the race I've been looking forward to the most my entire career to race. I thought in the beginning it would be as an age grouper, but then actually racing it as a professional and believing that you have a shot at winning it is absolutely crazy and hard to put into words how much it would mean for me to win this race.
To me, one of the toughest balances is trying to be great at this distance, but also great at T100 or 70.3. And when I look at you this year, you win the T100 in Miami in what people would have considered tough for you because it's so hot.
Yeah.
And then fourth at Alcatraz, another sort of epic event, jumping off the boat, freezing cold water, and getting fourth there, and then get fourth at the T100 London. How do those races play into this?
Yeah, I think it is hard to combine, and I think you can see Miami was the first T100 race of the season, and I really specialized for that distance for that race.
Yes.
So, and I think you can see that on the result list as well, and I did really well. And then focused completely shift towards Roth after that race.
Yes.
And I basically in Alcatraz, I jumped down from altitude one day before or something like that and raced Alcatraz. So I knew that wouldn't be my best race, but I'm still really, really happy with the consistency.
Yep.
And that I'm able to still pull off 2 fourth places so close to Roth in Alcatraz and in London. So obviously I think for me at least, I cannot be in peak shape for both distances at the same time. If I was to do a PTO race now, I don't think it would go really well. You don't have the speed. So I need to specialize, and we made clear decisions before the season of kind of which races to focus on, and those were Miami because we knew it would be extremely hot and it would be like the first T100 of the season, and so we specialized for that, and then we decided that after that we wanted to do Roth and do that really, really well. So, and then obviously everything had to build for Kona. So those are the 3 races in this season that I really targeted, and so far the 2 of them have went really well. So I'm hoping that the third one will be as well.
Is it hard to go into a race, like you said, you get down from altitude one day before? Is it hard to go into a race going, I'm not really here to... Obviously, you want to win, but I'm here just to get the best on myself, and if I don't win, it's not that big a deal.
It is hard, for instance, in London when I came off the world record after, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks after Roth, and I knew that, it's just no way that you have the speed to be able to run with the fastest guys, and also probably will still be a little bit fatigued mentally and physically, so it is hard to accept that for myself, and knowing that I'm actually towing the line here, and all the other guys are so strong and so sharp, and many of them have specialized for this race only. But it's also part of being a professional, and especially the way the sport develops at the moment is you have the series going on with the T100 and the Pro Series. It's in the past, you could maybe turn up to 3 races and do them really well in the season, and then that would be a good season. But with the series now, I think it's going to turn a little bit more into road cycling, where people also sometimes use races to get in shape or to take over the race, and then still they have the A races, but they are racing much more frequently than triathletes are. So it's part of the sport growing that you can't be at 100% all the time.
You are a unique athlete, because I don't think I've seen that many people who, even early on, when you were, you're 26 now, so even when you were first doing Daytona and Miami, you were never afraid of the moment. You were never afraid to go to the front. Where a lot of people, when they're just sort of getting into the sport, they would be afraid of the moment. Have you always been that type of guy who's like, hey, I'm going off the front no matter what?
Yeah, it's definitely the way I have raced my entire career.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to that I really believe that I actually have a chance here. It's quite crazy already from one of the first pro races I did, we went into the race with the mindset that I was having a chance to win. So I think it's just in my DNA to be really, really competitive and go for the opportunity and don't be afraid of failing. That's also a big part of triathlon, is that you obviously, when you are racing, you are going to make mistakes and you're going to fail. But the thing is that I think we have been really good at is learning from the mistakes, so not doing the same mistakes many times. Of course, I blew up in the beginning because of many different reasons, but we've kind of analyzed every single race and found, okay, what was exact reason for that, and then tried to correct it, and then hopefully done a little bit better next time.
I love it. To me, that's a mark of a champion who's never afraid to go off the front, and no matter what the consequences are going to be. And we've seen it. We've seen you walking at the Daytona. We've seen you with stomach issues. We've seen all different things. But you look at that as it's part of the process. It's part to become the world champion. Here, you had to go through that. Yeah,
I think so. It's a natural progression all the time.
I love it. How about a round of applause for Mr. Magnus Ditlev, Poncho Man? Take us out.
It's a long hot Wednesday. We're gonna swim, bike, and run day. Chee-hoo. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. 'Cause it's breakfast with Bob. Chee-hoo.
Poncho Man, everybody.